After I finished my final term at university, my sister Piccolo and I needed to go back home for the summer. And as we were traveling at the height of the pandemic, we had to go through mandatory state quarantine to be allowed back into the country. And I'll just say that this experience was certainly interesting, to say the least. So once we landed and got our suitcases sprayed down outside the hotel by people in hazmat suits, we then got sent on a bus that took us to the hotel where we were going to be quarantined for 2 weeks. After we got there and got assigned our rooms, all of the passengers from our flight got added to this massive group chat where the hotel staff would keep us updated on information like when our COVID tests would be and stuff. And let me tell you, this group chat was the most annoying group chat ever. The other passengers would spam the chat every day with good mornings and send pictures of motivational quotes and forward chain messages. But most confusing of all, people kept sending pictures of the meals the hotel gave us to the group chat. And I don't know exactly why they were doing this because we weren't allowed to order food, so all of our meals were exactly the same. And they would just send the picture without any context, like just the food by itself. And then other people would respond with their own picture of the same food. Like, I just don't... Every day, why? Even though my sister and I had traveled together, we were separated and kept in hotel rooms next door to each other, which honestly was probably for the best since we had been in lockdown alone together in one flat for 3 months beforehand and we were starting to lose it. The only time we ever got to see each other was when we went to go pick up our meals at the same time outside our hotel door, but we could talk to each other by calling on the hotel phone. The staff in the hotel also used this phone to call everyone every morning to ask what temperature we had. And one morning, I was in the bathroom when they called and I hadn't measured it yet. So I ran out of there as fast as I could and slammed the door on my own foot in the process, giving myself the biggest bruise I have ever seen. And I shoved a thermometer in my mouth and quickly answered the phone and... Hello? Oh, hey, did you see that they're playing that movie on this channel right now?
It's just you?
On our third day in quarantine, everyone had to go and get their first COVID test, and my sister was super nervous about how bad the COVID test was going to hurt. And being the big, brave older sister, I said I would go first. So I hobbled ahead, because I was still recovering from my foot injury, and sat next down to a screaming child who was going to be tested as well. And I knew that having a swab get shoved up your nose wasn't going to be a pleasant experience, to say the least. Like, I imagined it to be uncomfortable, but not too bad, right? Wrong. Oh my god, it was so much worse than I expected. I thought it would just feel like a stick going up your nose, but it felt like that, combined with the feeling of too much water going up your nostrils and getting stabbed in the nose, which triggered my eyes to start crying. And when it was finally done, I got up, turned to my panicking sister who had just watched all of this go down, and tried to reassure her that it was no big deal by acting all nonchalant about it. So I gave her a big thumbs up, with tears and snot running uncontrollably down my face, and over the soundtrack of the still screaming child who had been sitting beside me, smiled and went, "Yeah, no, it's fine," at her, then limped back to my room. Apart from getting tested for COVID, we never got to leave our rooms, and there wasn't much to do apart from eating and watching movies. The food at the hotel was pretty good, I have to say. My only criticism would be that they actually gave way too much food for us to eat. By the time dinner arrived, I would have some of my breakfast left, half of my lunch, and a new meal waiting for me. And I felt so bad about wasting so much food, I thought, you know what? I'll leave some rice outside the window so that the birds can have some of this food. So all day I waited to see if any birds would come, and when I went to go check on the rice in the evening, it had turned crunchy and bright orange. But hey, at least the beetles seemed to enjoy it. So on another one of my never-ending days in quarantine, I decided to watch Schindler's List. Now let me give a very, very basic overview of the film. We have Liam Neeson, who's the main character, Oskar Schindler, who saves a lot of Jewish people from the Nazis. Then we have Ralph Fiennes as Amon Goth, who is a Nazi and the main villain in the film. Now, I could have sworn that I knew the difference between the guy from Taken and Voldemort, but before I began watching the film, my dad said, "Oh, Ralph Fiennes is great in Schindler's List." So then when I started watching and Liam Neeson appeared, I went, "Ah yes, Ralph Fiennes." And then when the actual Ralph Fiennes appeared, it didn't register to me that this was another character, and I just assumed I was still watching the main character. And let me just tell you, when you merge the protagonist and the villain together, it creates the most confusing film watching experience. Because I was just watching this like, why is he doing that? Isn't Schindler meant to be a good guy? How can he redeem himself from all of this? Why does he keep switching from killing people then saving them? And I only realized that they were two different characters when they finally appeared in the same scene about a good portion of the way through the movie. And I know that this was a pointless story to tell, but it was literally the most interesting thing to happen to me the entire time I was quarantined, okay? And just like that, my time in the weird purgatory that is state quarantine, where time passes both painfully slowly yet surprisingly fast, came to an end. And I got that sweet, sweet freedom. And now I'm back in a lockdown.